So do you ever buy a Blu-ray or a 4K or a DVD and it just sits on your shelf and you just never watched it? But there's part of you is just like, I don't want to get rid of it because there might be a day where I do watch it. That's what I want to talk about today. So the reason I wanted to talk about that is because while I was searching for my copy of Escape from New York, which, by the way, I still haven't found, which I mentioned in the last video, which is actually quite concerning because it means I now have to buy another copy of Escape from New York, which I have no problem with, but I thought I had it. So my brain's gone squishy squashy, and I'm wondering why on earth I don't have a copy of Escape from New York anymore. Right, so I had two copies of Escape from New York. I had the Scream Factory Region A release, which I sold. But I kept the Optimum release. Was it Optimum? It might not have been Optimum. It might have been Universal, I think. I can't remember. I kept the British, the UK release, just in case there was an issue and I wasn't able to watch the Scream Factory release. And now I can't find it. It's just vanished. And I don't know where it's gone. Oh yeah, new edition. I don't know if you can see. There's a little Leonardo there with his swords. Badass figure. So the reason I wanted to talk about having films on your shelves that you never watch is because while I was looking for Escape from New York, I found a film on Blu-ray that I didn't even know I bought. And it's Interview with a Vampire. It's still got the stickers from CEX on. I paid £3 for this. So it's still got the stickers on. I don't know why. I can't even remember buying this. Yet I must have bought it recently. I don't know. I would have bought it at some point this year, I think. But I can't remember. So this is one of the problems of being a collector, is when you buy stuff, you don't remember. If you buy so much, you don't necessarily remember what you've got on your shelves. Now, I have never seen Interview with a Vampire. I've never seen it. There's one film that always escaped me, and I never got around to watching it. And it makes me think the reason I bought this is not only because it was £3, but it was also because it was a film. If I can get this sticker off. It was also a film that I thought maybe it's time I did watch it. But I just can't remember ever buying Interview with a Vampire. But now I have it, I can at some point watch it. Would I sell it if I don't like it? Probably not, because I might want to reevaluate it. But obviously, the issue of buying films and just leaving them on your shelves, which is why we end up with so many, leads me into the idea of curating the collection, like making sure you have a substantial collection, but not filtering it with stuff or filling it with stuff that you may not have any intention of watching, but you only picked up because it was cheap. So yeah, like I may watch Interview with a Vampire at some point. I'm glad I have it now. I completely forgot I bought it, but it's here. So I've got some films that I've bought. There's a few that I've picked up that I don't know why I picked them up. Well, one or two I know why I picked up. One of them I know why I picked up. It just so happens I just haven't gotten around to watching it, but it was one that was an upgrade from a DVD. But like, the first one is The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Guy Ritchie spy film. Now, never seen it. I don't know if it's any good. I remember picking this up very, very cheap, and I know Arrow is releasing a 4K of this. I don't understand what the fuck is going on with Arrow at the moment. Their announcements are shockingly bizarre. I know they've made a deal with Warner Brothers, but it seems like Warner Brothers has just gone, here's all our shit, do what the fuck you want with it, instead of giving them the good titles. And I'm not expecting Arrow Video to release like a 4K collector's edition hard box cult version of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. That's not what I'm expecting. But considering that Warner Brothers goes back 100 years, so you have 100 years of cinema, everything that could be from, like, they could do, what was a good a good example of Warner Brothers movie? Oh, Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can, the Clint Eastwood movies. They were made by Warner Brothers. They don't have Blu-ray releases, as far as I'm aware, in the UK. That would be a perfect Arrow release. They could do a Clint Eastwood double, and it would be amazing. But they've just announced that they're doing a Clash of the Titans box set. Now, it's not the 1981 Clash of the Titans with Ray Harryhausen's animation, stop motion. No, it's the really, really piss poor, awful failure movie, Wrath of the Titans, Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans. The films starring Sam Worthington. Is it Sam Worthington? I think it's Sam Worthington. They were terrible movies, and Arrow have just announced that they're releasing a 4K collector's set, 2-pack, called When Titans Ruled the Earth or something. And they are releasing it for pre-order. It's £30 at the moment. Now, you can pick up both those films on just normal Blu-ray, for about 50 fucking p. So you can get both of them for £1. Why would you spend 30 quid on shit films? Now, I know. Now, people are going to get angry about this, but really, really gets on my goat that we're going to see when these box sets come out. You're going to see people like Mid-Level Media, and you're going to see Serial at Midnight, or whoever else is the big blue tuber people praising this box set, even though the movies are shit, because all they want to do is just talk about how amazing these new releases are when the movies are fucking awful. Now, Arrow has released a lot of shit in the past. They have. They released the Trauma movies. Yes, they're mildly entertaining. The Toxic Avenger is okay. Class of Nukem High is awful, but also quite fun. But these films were made on very, 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 very small budget by a very lower than independent studio, by Trauma, which is run by Lloyd Kaufman. Now, they are entertaining movies, but if you're charging a premium price for a film that was made for less than the price that you're asking for for the DVD or the Blu-ray, then you need your head seen to. And this is the problem that I've got with Arrow. Back in the day, when they started doing Blu-rays, they did some fantastic stuff. They did the Masters of Giallo stuff. They did like the George Romero stuff. We're looking at like blaxploitation, like Foxy Brown, Brian De Palma movies, The Fury, and Obsession, another one which was really, really good. They released Sisters, another Brian De Palma movie, and I think they did a box set of his earlier movies. I can't necessarily remember, but they did all the what they call them. They did all like the Tinto Brass movies, the like sexy movies, if you will. They even released fucking Battle Royale, one of the greatest Japanese movies of all time. But as they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and they've been able to license more and more movies, now they're just releasing shit films from studios. Nobody wants to have a 4K collector's edition of the 2008 Clash of the fucking Titans. But back to what I was talking about. So, like, I bought Men from U.N.C.L.E., or The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Henry Cavill, Armie Hammer, Alicia Vikander, who was a great Lara Croft, by the way. I thought she was fantastic. And she's married to someone. I don't know who she's married to, but it's someone famous. I think it's Michael Fassbender. Elizabeth Debicki and Hugh Grant. So Hugh Grant seems to be Guy Ritchie's new guy. He was in this. He's in The Gentleman, and he's in Operation Fortune, which is terrible, by the way. I would highly recommend avoiding that movie. So yeah, but this has been on my shelf since I bought it. I have no idea why I bought it. Am I going to watch it? Maybe. I've heard good things, but who knows? Like, another one that I've had for a long time is Dune. Denis Villeneuve's Part 1 adaptation of Frank Herbert's classic science fiction novel. I've had this for about a year. I still haven't watched it. I tried to watch a torrented version of it a while before I picked this up, and picture quality was terrible, so I just stopped. And yeah, but like, it's just been sat on the shelf. Like, I know I need to watch it, but when am I going to have time to sit down and watch a 155-minute movie? I will at some point. I know it. That's the thing. This is the problem I'm having. Like, I would happily rewatch David Lynch's Dune before I watched Denis Villeneuve's Dune. But I'm thinking, do I really need it? Do I want to keep it? I mean, it's going to be on Netflix. Well, it probably is on Netflix now, I guess. So shall I watch it on Netflix, or do I want to watch it on Blu-ray? Now, I want to watch it on Blu-ray. But when? Like, this is the problem with being a collector, is having the movies but not knowing when to watch them, or being in the mood to watch something, so it just stays on the shelf and you wonder to yourself, was it worth spending the money on it? Maybe it was, I don't know. Again, another one that I've got, which I haven't grabbed here, which I've had for a long time, and I've mentioned this before, is The Batman. I still haven't watched it. This is the 4K. I will at some point watch it, but again, this is another, it's 176 minutes. It's a fucking Batman movie. Why is it nearly over 3 hours long? It's just too long. You can tell a Batman film in less than 2 hours, I do believe. Where is the Batman box set? I believe Tim Burton's Batman is under 2 hours long, or maybe just over 2 hours long, maybe 122 minutes. Can't really remember. But yeah, it doesn't need to be that long. But it's 3 hours. It's 3 hours of doom and gloom Batman stuff. And I know it got praised, and Robert Pattinson was praised for being a great Batman, even though everybody shat on him when he was announced. They were, oh, not the sparkly guy from Twilight. But the stuff he made post Twilight is considered like outstanding cinema, like Good Times, and obviously the Batman, his work with David Cronenberg. So he is a pretty decent actor. Another person who kind of got out of that horrible sort of Twilight thing and went on to be quite a successful dramatic actress is Kristen Stewart. And Kristen Stewart's in this. This is Underwater. This film is friggin' awesome. This is essentially a Lovecraft Cthulhu movie, and everyone should check it out. This is the German Blue, by the way. She's great in it as well. I mean, I remember first seeing Kristen Stewart in Panic Room, David Fincher's movie with Jared Leto and, I want to say, Forrest Whitaker. I think it's Forrest Whitaker. And obviously Jodie Foster. Great movie. And then she was in Zathura again. Another really fun sort of Jumanji-esque sequel, I guess you could say. Well, a sequel to Jumanji, because it has that kind of Jumanji feel to it. Maybe it's written by the same guy who wrote the book Jumanji, wrote the book of Zathura. Also, one of the first big cinema films directed by Jon Favreau. And then I think the next one he did was Elf, and then Iron Man, and then he went on and did the Star Wars stuff. I have no idea what this film is. This is a film called The Gift. It's got Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton in it. I think it's a horror film. I'm not sure. But it's Joel Edgerton, and I like him. He's pretty good in most of the stuff he's in. Rebecca Hall's a fantastic actress. And Jason Bateman's just fucking awesome. We all love Jason Bateman. Who doesn't like Jason Bateman? He's the Teen Wolf 2 guy. So yeah, so I have no idea what this film is. I think I bought it because it was 50p in a charity shop. And even though it was 50p in a charity shop, doesn't mean like I'm ever going to watch it. Oh shit, it was actually written and directed by Joel Edgerton. That's impressive. Okay, go Joel. Who did the stunt work? Your brother? Probably. So yeah, it is. I think it is a horror movie, but who knows? I haven't. If you've seen the Gift, tell me if it's any good, and I might get around to watching it at some point. No promises though. And another film. I have no idea why I bought this. Again, I think this was because it was 50p. It's one of those British gangster movies, mate. Oi, 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 slag, talk, slag. It's called We Still Kill the Old Way. I don't know if this is the sequel or is it the We Still Kill the Old Way. I think there's one. I think this might be the first one because I know there's one after it. Harry Brown meets Reservoir Dogs, starring a bunch of old ass British people. Ian Ogilvy, Alison Doody. She looks rough now, and she was gorgeous in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Danny Boy Hatchard, never fucking heard of him. Liza Anthony, she must have been desperate for money. James Cosmo, he's in all of these things. He's also in Game of Thrones. And Stephen Burkoff. I don't know why Stephen Burkoff in the last 20 years or so has just been exclusively in shit British gangster movies. When Stephen Burkoff was an absolute beast of a villain in Beverly Hills Cop. Who did he play? I can't remember the name of the character now. Victor Maitland, that's the one. Victor Maitland. So yeah, I have no idea why I own this. It's just sitting. It's not even on the thing. It's just sitting on the top. And again, it makes me think: am I ever going to watch it? Am I ever going to watch We Still Kill the Old Way? Now, the reason it has a little sticker on it is because I got it from somewhere. And I'm not going to lie, this was actually shrink wrap. So I'm thinking it has been shrink wrapped with the sticker on the top. I may have bought this, maybe not from a charity shop. Maybe it was from Poundland when I was on the whole buying as many Blu-rays as I can get because they're cheap. So yeah, am I ever going to watch We Still Kill the Old Way? Probably not. I mean, it says it's from the makers of Vendetta. Vendetta is an okay movie. It's got Danny Dyer in it. Not doing the old cheeky, chappy London boy, oi oi, you know what I mean, stuff. But the problem with these British gangster films is that they are shot on a very low budget. They're all set in fucking London, mate. You know, fucking apples and pears and all that shit. It's all a bunch of cockney geezers, all hard men. Doing what our men got to do, you know. You look in front of you, fucking nut, yeah, mate. Yeah, I went through a period of doing all those movies, and never again. They're shit. I mean, how many Rise of the Foot Soldier movies do we need? I think there's 29 now, and all of them have got Craig Fairbrass in it when he's not doing voices for Call of Duty. Although I will say there's one British gangster movie, mate, that's technically a gangster movie but also not a gangster movie, is a film called Avengement, directed by Jesse V. Johnson, who is a fantastic action film director. And it's got Scott Adkins and Craig Fairbrass off of EastEnders in it, and it's very, very good. It's probably Scott Adkins' best performance outside of maybe Accident Man. No, these are action movies. If you guys are action movie fans, you will know who Scott Adkins is. He is the guy who is basically keeping the 80s style of martial arts movies going with films like Accident Man, The Debt Collectors, Undisputed 2 and 3, which are sequels to a Walter Hill boxing drama starring Wesley Snipes and Ving Rhames, which is a very different movie compared to Undisputed. I want to say Undisputed 2 and 3, but Adkins is also in the fourth film. So it's Undisputed 2, 3, and then Undisputed, or Boyka Undisputed 4, which are mixed martial arts movies, essentially. The second one has Michael Jai White in it, playing the Iceman, which is the same character that Ving Rhames plays in the first one. Very different character. They just because they have the same skin color doesn't mean they look anything alike. But I think he plays a character called George Iceman Chambers. And in the second film, Michael Jai White plays the same character who was a boxer, but then trains in martial arts and picks it up in about 35 seconds. It doesn't make much sense, but holy shit, the fight scenes are off the fucking chain. The films are directed by a man called Isaac Florentine, who is one of the best straight to DVD or VOD or low budget action filmmakers. He's a martial artist himself. He did work on the martial arts on the Power Rangers back in the 90s, and he went on to start doing feature films, and he's just gotten better and better and better. He did these two movies called Ninja and Ninja Shadow of a Tear, which also star Scott Adkins, and those movies are fire. Absolutely good. Big supporter of Scott Adkins and DTV action movies in general. So then the next one I was talking about that has just been sat on my shelf, which I think has been sat on my shelf for about 3 years, is Free Fire. It is a film executive produced by Martin Scorsese, and it's directed by, I've forgotten his name, Ben Wheatley, British filmmaker Ben Wheatley, known for The Kill List and A Field in England, and whose last movie was The Meg 2, Electric Megaloo, or whatever the fuck it's called. You know, the film where Jason Statham just punches out a gigantic shark. I haven't seen it. The first one I thought was fun. The second one, from what I've heard, is absolutely awful. But unless it's got Jason Statham in it going, "It's a megalodon," then I'm probably not going to watch it. I have actually seen this. This is sealed. This is what I mean. It's been on my shelf for about 3 years. I have got no, I might have intentions of watching it again. I don't know. I can't really. It's got such a good casting though. It's Sharlto Copley, Armie Hammer. Again, Armie Hammer has popped up twice now because he was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Brie Larson, Cillian Murphy. Apparently that's how you say his name, Killian. Everyone else has called him Cillian. Jack Rayner, Babu Cisse, Enzo Galente, Sam Riley, Michael Smiley, and Noah Taylor. Noah Taylor, that's the one I was talking about in another video not so long ago, who you've seen in lots and lots of things. Michael Smiley is a very, very cool person. He played Tyres in Spaced, the film, well, a TV show from Simon Pegg and Jessica Hines, aka Jessica Stevenson, which gave us Shaun of the Dead, basically, and Hot Fuzz. Directed by Edgar Wright, that TV show was. I have seen this, yeah. It's got some really good shootouts in it. And it's 91 minutes, so I've got no reason to not watch this. I think this is the type of film you need to really be in the mood for. But yeah, again, I mean, it's just been sat on the shelf for like 3 years. And another one, which it was sat on the shelf for about 3 years, which I'm quite sad that it has been sat on the shelf and I haven't watched it. Because I have seen this film, and I found the DVD of this the other day. Which I do believe this is out of print now, I think. Don't quote me on that. Need a drink. Talking this long makes my throat really dry. I'm still on the water, by the way. I have been drinking a lot of Pepsi Max, but still on the water. So yeah, this is a film that I have seen, and I love this movie, and this is the reason why I've got it. I just haven't had a reason to watch it, or just not actually been in the mood to watch it. And it is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Great 80s comedy with a supernatural twist, starring the ever amazing Cassandra Peterson as Elvira. I also have Elvira's Haunted Hills on Region 1 DVD, which I'm not sure where that is. I think that might very well be in storage on the cupboard, or in the cupboard. But again, like, this is what I was coming back to. Is I buy all these films? Like, another film which I own, which I haven't watched since I bought it, is Old Boy. And I've seen Old Boy like a million times, so like, that's not that much of an excuse. And again, this one, Arrow's release of Pitch Black, it's still sealed. It's still sealed. I think the reason why this is still sealed is because I also have it on this Blu-ray, and I found the DVD when I was going through the cupboard with the DVDs the other day. I found the DVD and trying to find a pile of DVDs that I could sell just to get rid of the stuff that I don't really need, or that I now have on Blu-ray. I found Pitch Black, but I couldn't part with it because there's a significance to that DVD for me, and it was the first DVD that I ever purchased after obviously buying VHS for years and years and years. Pitch Black was the first DVD I ever owned. So having the Blu-ray, the two Blu-rays and the DVD is kind of like, I don't know. I really like the Real Heroes cover of the Universal release, but I also really like the Arrow release cover, the Arrow cover, which I think is really good. I would have liked to have got the 4K, but I managed to get this for £8 on Vintage, sealed, brand new, which is fan-fucking-tastic. So yeah, I mean, I've got Elvira. I mean, I don't know why I put this into this video, because I will watch this at some point. It's just, this is the type of film you really need to be in the mood for. It's the type of film that you can get a bunch of friends to watch with you, but most of my friends don't like horror movies, so it's a bit pointless. And I suppose it's not really a horror film, is it? It's an Elvira movie. When did Elvira ever make a horror movie that was actually scary? Another one that I've got, but I don't know why I'm pulling this out, but I've had this for a while and I haven't watched it yet, and it is still sealed, and it's Kevin Costner's Open Range. I love this film. I have seen it on DVD multiple times, and I've seen it on TV a lot of times. Now, I bought this because it was in the sale from 101 Films, and I just haven't got around to watching it yet. But how many of us buy Blu-rays that just sit on the shelves with possibly no intention of actually watching? Or we look at them and we're like, oh, I'm not going to get rid of that because I might watch it at some point. They talk about the fear of missing out, and the FOMO whole thing, the whole FOMO thing. Now, I own it, so the only fear of missing out I've got is just not watching it. But me not watching it is taking up space that something else can replace. So say, like, I don't know, this stuff I've got here. I've got Sinister, the horror film starring Ethan Hawke. Now, I've watched that film once. I'm probably not going to watch it again. So why have I still got it on Blu-ray? I'll tell you why. This is essentially generic studio releases. These are worthless. So they don't cost. They're not worth anything. If you try and sell it, you get a penny for it from CEX, or you get a penny for it from Music Magpie. So it stays on the shelf because, like, you've put money into it, therefore you want to at least try and get something back. Now, I've been quite lucky in the last couple of weeks, because when I've sold some Blu-rays and I've sold some DVDs, I've made quite a bit of money back through vouchers, obviously, from CEX. So I don't take cash from CEX because it's half the value of the voucher. So I use the vouchers to just get some new stuff, or like I pointed out in the last video, I picked up the Bond collection and the Nightmare on Elm Street collection, which is a really, really great way of collecting movies and slimlining or like curating a sort of cinema library, if you will. But again, am I going to watch it? Probably not. I've got Luc Besson's The Family. I've only watched it once. I'm probably never going to watch it again. Edge of Darkness. I'm not going to watch it again. I'm not going to get anything for it. It's not a very good film anyway. Mile 22. Now, I probably will watch Mile 22 again. Mile 22 is a pretty fun action movie. And it's one of the last films, I think, that really got an 18 certificate for an action film. 90 minutes, 22 miles, 0 backup. Now, I'm not a fan of Mark Wahlberg. I think he just plays the same character in every single movie, which is just a variation on Melvin Smiley from The Big Hit, which he made in 1997, or 1998, I think it was. Fucking fantastic movie. What else have I got that I'm probably never going to watch? I'm not going to say that. That's The Book of Eli. I've watched that like 20 times. Great movie, by the way. Here's another film that I've got. Another 4K movie that I own that I haven't watched, and it's just been sat on the shelf since I bought it. It's The Northman. Now, I keep hearing such amazing things about this movie, but I've seen Robert Eggers' some of Robert Eggers' other stuff. He's only made 2 prior to this, which was The Witch and The Lighthouse. I think he may have made another one. I can't really remember. And I will watch it at some point, which is why I'm not getting rid of it. But how long is it? It doesn't really matter the length. 2 hours and 17. 2 hours and 17 minutes ain't too bad. I can probably watch that. That's not a problem. I mean, the problem with having a full-time job is that you just don't have the time like you used to be able to watch movies. And now, I love movies. I love writing about them. I love ranting about them. I love talking about them. I love praising them. But I think in the last month, 2 months maybe, I've only watched about 4 films. And 3 of those are Mad Max movies. And the other one is Edge of Tomorrow, which is Edge of Tomorrow is a banger of a movie. Where's the Blu-ray? I saw it literally like 3 seconds ago. Edge of Tomorrow. And I watched Edge of Tomorrow, actually. I watched it on Netflix, not on Blu-ray. And the reason I watched it on Netflix was because I put it on in the background while I was sorting something out. Now, I have the Blu-ray. Now, the Blu-ray is a good Blu-ray, yeah. They just could not make up their mind what they wanted to call this movie. So, the movie is based on a Japanese novel called All You Need Is Kill, which was the original working title of this movie. And I do believe in Japan it was released under the title of All You Need Is Kill. Then they released it as Edge of Tomorrow. And then they started putting Live, Die, Repeat on everything. And a lot of places were referring to it as Live, Die, Repeat. And then they went back to Edge of Tomorrow. But the only way you'll know this is called The Edge of Tomorrow is this little bit of red writing at the bottom that says Edge of Tomorrow. Cruise Blunt, Edge of Tomorrow. And whatever it says on the side. But look at the cover. Live, Die, Repeat. Make your fucking mind up, Warner Brothers. So yeah, that's all I wanted to really talk about, was just like films that we buy that sit on the shelves for ages and ages and ages that we may at some point get around to watching, or do we really need them? Like, how many of us buy movies that just sit on a shelf with no intention of watching? I think there's a lot of us, and I think that's why a lot of us end up with such a massive amount of movies and always struggle with something to watch. Like, I watch a lot of YouTube movie people. I watch a lot of them. And it seems to be that they have these huge, vast collections of movies, yet all they ever watch is Halloween. They only ever watch either Halloween or Friday the 13th. Because a lot of Blu-ray collectors seem to be massive horror movie fans. No one really seems to be like just a general fan of movies, or knowledge. I'm not going to say not knowledgeable about movies, because they are. I mean, Heath from Serial at Midnight is like, dude knows his shit, which is really good. Also, like, you've got to know your movies when you're buying your movie. This is what I did the video before, which was does the film matter when buying physical media? Because you see a lot of these people buying these films that they don't really have any interest in the film, or they don't have much knowledge of the film. Now with this channel, yeah, I do a lot of stuff about physical media. I do a lot of stuff about Blu-rays, I do DVDs and stuff like that. But I do a lot of stuff about film in general. So I'll talk about movies. I'll go on little tangents about movies. And I'll give little bits of information that I've picked up over the years. Like, I'm wearing a Warriors t-shirt today. It's a pretty naff t-shirt, to be honest. It cost me about £5. Now, the reason I'm wearing a Warriors t-shirt is because I love the Warriors. I think the Warriors is a fantastic movie. But it's not my favourite Walter Hill movie. My favourite Walter Hill movie is The Driver. Or Driver. I think it's a fucking great movie. But then I can talk to you about the Warriors. I could talk to you about The Driver. I could talk to you about other Walter Hill things. Or I could talk to you about like John Carpenter movies. I know a lot about John Carpenter films. I know a lot about George Romero movies. Yes, these are horror film directors. But I also know a lot about Tarantino movies, Scorsese movies, classic movies from like 1950s, 1960s. Because it's the stuff that I take in. If it's to do with movies, then I'll talk about it. I'll read about it. I'll learn about it, and I'll just put it in my brain. So I could easily pick up a film and give you some information on it. So, The Big Heat. Big Heat. Great movie. Directed by Fritz Lang. It is a Glenn Ford sort of... A lot of people think it's a film noir. It's not really. It's more a police procedural. It's and stroke gangster movie, crime movie, etc., etc., etc. The thing on the back says a hard cop and a soft dame. Blah, 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 blah. The villain in this is Lee Marvin, and this film was massively controversial because there was a scene where Lee Marvin throws, I think it's hot tea or hot water, over Gloria Graham's face. I think it's Gloria Graham. Yes, Gloria Graham's face, which was considered massively violent in like 1953. This film was made. So in 1953, I mean, Hollywood was this was during the Hays Code era, where like violence and sex and stuff wasn't particularly allowed in Hollywood movies. So it wasn't until like new Hollywood in the late 60s where the violence and stuff was starting to be more prevalent in movies and stuff. But when you take a film like The Big Heat, a film which is a 15, with a Glenn Ford movie, this is Glenn Ford, everyone's favourite lovable cowboy Glenn Ford, in a film where his entire family gets massacred by the gangsters, and he goes on a revenge mission to take them down. This is 1953, like that film came out. This is Taken with Glenn Ford, not Taken with Liam Neeson. It's a fantastic movie. Definitely worth it. But like I said, this is stuff that was made during a period in Hollywood where the studios were imposing this thing called the Hays Code, or they were forced to impose this thing called the Hays Code, which prohibited amounts of violence and sex and stuff on screen. So there was a film made by... what's his name? The man who made It's a Wonderful Life. I can't remember his name now. I've drawn a blank. Well, he made a film called It Happened One Night starring Clark Gable, and I can't remember who else was in it. And there's a scene where they're on a train and they have to share like a bedroom, I guess, on a train. And you can clearly see that because they're in a bed, one of them, they each have to have a leg sticking out, because I don't know, it's a weird way of thinking about it, because if you've got one leg in bed or one leg out of bed, then it means that you can't get up to anything dirty. It's the same with the violence. I mean, you don't see any violence in like Hollywood movies up until maybe 1967, when I think it was 1967, or maybe it might have been a little bit earlier, when I think it was Arthur Penn directed Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway in Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde was a massively violent movie. I mean, it might have been 1967, actually, because I think it was a bit later. I don't think Gene Hackman was in his prime at that time. But this is the stuff that I remember. This is the stuff that I learn about. So you've got like the Hays Code of the 1930s, 40s and 50s and majority of the 60s. And then you've got New Hollywood, which is really the start of modern Hollywood, from like 1967 to maybe Star Wars, I guess. So there's a 10-year period between 67 and 77 where New Hollywood came out. So you had things like The Godfather, and you had things like Bullet and Walter Hill's movies. The Getaway, he wrote The Getaway, which is a Sam Peckinpah movie. You had The Wild Bunch, you had the spaghetti westerns, and Clint Eastwood making the revisionist westerns like Outlaw Josie Wales and stuff like that. So you had a new form of Hollywood movie making. So things like The Graduate and Dog Day Afternoon and The Godfather Part 2 and Panic in Needle Park. But then you had like The Conversation. And then you had something like Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out in 1976, I think it was, or 1977. It was around the same, I think it came out the same year as Star Wars, which is 1977. That came out, and then followed by that you had Star Trek the Motion Picture in 1979. Also around that time you had things like Logan's Run and Soylent Green and Once Upon a Time, I'm not talking about Soylent Green and the Omega Man, like these sort of dystopian science fiction movies. And it was just a completely different cinematic world compared to what it was in the 1930s, 40s, 50s and 60s, because in the 30s you had like, it was the early days. It wasn't like the 20s was sort of the early days of the talkie, but you had like the main films that the studios were putting out were musicals and westerns. Westerns were a big thing back in the early days of the talkies, I guess. I think the first ever film that was made was a film called The Great Train Robbery, which is a western, and it ends with a cowboy just firing a gun at the screen. But then the 1940s were more like the big studio, extravagant musical numbers and stuff. And then you had these massive epics like Gone with the Wind, which was 1939, and in the 40s, I think it was the 40s, yeah, the 1940s, right, like Wizard of Oz and stuff like that, when film became colorized, and in the 1950s you had the film, well, late 1940s and 1950s you had film noir and crime cinema, and then the 1960s was sort of like these romantic comedy type of things that like Doris Day and Rock Hudson would make, and like Pillow Talk and stuff like that. But it wasn't until the end of that, sorry, the light went off, and my battery pack just died, so I'm going to have to plug that in a minute. So it wasn't until the end of that period in Hollywood that you'd get these newer, younger filmmakers like Arthur Penn, Brian De Palma, and George Lucas, and Francis Ford Coppola, and Steven Spielberg, and so on and so on and so on, that they would essentially change cinema. And then you get to like the 80s, and then that's where all the like the lower budget sort of, studios would make anything. So you'd have all these fucked up like horror movies, like, and really bizarre stuff. So you'd have stuff like Killer Clowns from Outer Space would get made, or Buckaroo Banzai would get made, or what's the other one? There's another one that came out that could only technically be made in the 1980s because I don't think anyone else would make it. That was something like Electric Dreams and Liquid Sky. These movies, these fucked up, weird ass new romantic movies and stuff. I mean, the 80s was, like, Tarantino says 80s was the worst decade for cinema, but I don't think so. I think the 80s was one of the best because you had the output from the best of the best. So John Carpenter's best output was in, it's not really his best output. 3 of his movies were pretty good in that period. Or did he only make 3 movies? No, No. Yes, he did. So, Carpenter's output in the 1980s was fucking on form. I just thought about this. Escape from New York. Christine. They Live. Starman, which is what I forgot to say last time. Great movies. You had Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. You had Wrath of Khan. You had E.T. I mean, these are all in 1982. You had Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome. Like, the invention of Arnold Schwarzenegger, for fuck's sake. Terminator, not Terminator, Terminator 1. And then you had, like, Raw Deal, Commando, fucking Red Heat. Like, then you have all these fucking Rocky movies, all the Rambo movies. You get we get fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme and everything. Now, cinema and film is awesome, but it's fucked. We all know it's fucked. You know what? You can tell it's fucked because Furiosa just fucking flopped in America. Even though it's been open for like 4 days. If it doesn't take $1.6 billion within 30 seconds of being released, it's a flop, even though they don't count the overseas stuff. Don't open a film on a holiday where it's opening against a fucking kids movie. Be fucking sensible. Be sensible. So, yeah, Hollywood's fucked. I mean, it's going to change, though. It's going to change. We're going to get back to where we were before. We're going to have more original movies because no one's going to see Marvel movies anymore unless Deadpool and Wolverine make Marvel realise that R-rated is the way to go. That's what we're going to be seeing. But this is 46 minutes of me rambling with kind of no sort of idea of where I was going with this video, but yeah, cheers. I'm gonna go to bed because it's 3:30. Have a good night, everyone. Cheers. I'm out.